Okay, so at this point, basically the rest of this sequence is all about implementing the TCP things that we've already talked about. So it's not really new design, it's more getting into the weeds of how we implement the things that we've talked about. So one thing we talked about earlier is the fact that every packet gets a number stamped on it. If you're sending a bunch of letters, you're going to say that this is page 1, this is page 2, this is page 3, and then whoever receives the packets can reassemble them even if they arrive out of order. So the way we're actually going to implement this is we're going to create an initial sequence number and then start counting up from there. So for reasons that we will see very shortly, it's important that we start counting at a random number and that we don't start counting at 0. Stay tuned for why that's the case. But instead of starting our numbering with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you should instead say, my first page is going to be this random number, 520, and then the next packet will be 521, and then the next one will be 522, and so on and so forth. You're still stamping increasing numbers, but you'll pick different random numbers for your starting point in every connection. That's one thing we have to implement for security reasons. A second thing we have to do is support bidirectional connections. So far, when we thought about the mail analogies, we've thought about one person sending mail to the other person. But in reality, you can imagine that two people exchanging data will want to send data in both directions. For example, if I'm connected to Google's slideshow website, I am probably sending requests and they're sending back responses. We're exchanging data in both directions. So what that means is we'll actually need two sets of sequence numbers in every connection. One set of sequence numbers is for me to stamp on messages that I send to the other person, and the other set of numbers is for the other person to stamp on messages that they are sending to me. So because data is bidirectional, I need two sets of numbers, and both sets of numbers should start at random starting points for security reasons. So here's an example of what that might look like. Let's say we have bidirectional communication between a client and a server. So what that means is there needs to be two sets of numbers. You start from some random number in both cases, and you count up, and you use two sets of numbers for the two directions that you're sending messages. So if I'm the client, I might choose a random starting number 50. You could have chosen any other number. And for every byte that I send, I will stamp a number on that byte. So the H is number 50, the E is number 51, the L is number 52, this L is number 53, and it keeps counting up for every byte that I send. Now, if you're the server, you are also going to pick a random number. You chose 25. You could have chosen something else. And for every packet that you send to me, you will stamp a number, 25, 26, 27, 28, and those will be consecutively increasing for the data that you send. But these are two different sets of numbers. They don't interfere in any way. You can think of them as two totally separate sequences of numbers counting up. Whether they overlap or not, it's not our concern. It's just two different sets of numbers.